Welcome to the Curated Beauty podcast. Jessica Christie here, a health and beauty enthusiast who became a medical practitioner to be the authority on how to enhance both your outer beauty and inner beauty for the most confident glow. Founding and owning a multi-million-dollar aesthetic medical practice in Michigan, my mission is to bring all the bi-coastal innovations to the fresh coast of Michigan. From which aesthetic treatment gives you the most bang for your buck to how to create systems to be both professionally fulfilled and still have freedom of time and relationships, we will be diving into it all. So we've been talking a lot about impact on this podcast, and I think that it's because it's one of our core values in my business. And core values, just as a reminder, my business coach always says, they are who you are. Your core values are who you are. You can't rip somebody else's off. I mean, you could, but that's not authentic. It's not telling anyone who you are when you're using someone else's core values. There may be similarities, which is great to use people's core values for inspiration, but you really got to get real with those. So impact is one of our core values, and that is that I desire to have impact on my team as a leader. Also, I believe that my team then has impact on everyone that they meet in their lives, whether it's their patients, since we are at a medical aesthetic practice, or whether it's in their lives. And I love this little blurb from an Ed Milet interview that I heard recently. And it said, "You are the most qualified in life to help the people who you used to be." That is incredible. That spoke so deeply to me because, wow, talk about embracing your past. We are really, truly born for impact and to do great things. But when we're doing them, when we're just living our lives day to day, even intentionally, like you're living your life, you have no idea of the ripple effect of what you're doing, whether that effect is small or if there is big impact behind that. When you're committed to living aligned with who you truly are, and your past is, a major part of that, it leads you to do things that you really actually have no idea that you're about to do. And when you get on this intentional living path, the wild thing is it is a snowball effect. And you start to pull off some of the identities and biases that you have given yourself. You know, we're really here to give something in our time on earth. This is not what we're getting. You're here to give something, not get. And that's a big thing. Like, I want to raise my children to be contributing members of society. I remember I was a nanny when I was in PA school, and I remember the woman that I nannied for. She was just such a great mother. And she would say that she wanted to raise children that were contributing members of society. Her husband was a physician, and people would say, like, what do you want your girls to be? And that's all she would say. Contributing members of society. What are you bringing? And all three of them are amazing women. And so I really carried that into my own family. I'm so grateful for that part of my past and what I've learned from her. But you really have to stop thinking about what's in it for you, like scooping your half off the top, like really knock it off. And I think that instead of focusing on just loving ourselves, because there's a big push out there, like just love yourself, self-love, self-care, like that is valid. But how about let's focus on the value that we have? Focus on your value. Don't just focus on this concept of self-love. And I'm not saying don't love yourself. That's not what I'm saying. Hear me. Focus on your value and your worth. You're going to live a more meaningful life. And it has led me to be really obsessed with growth. There's this shameful part, this worst part of us where we think that there's disqualifiers in life from our past. And these alleged disqualifiers are really the very things that give us weapon for impact and change. And I just think, what if we could flip the script to be more thankful and appreciative for the heart in our lives to move forward? I just really think about the family that I come from. And I remember when I was a single young girl, I just thought, you know what, I probably wouldn't marry, someone that comes from this solid family background where their parents are married. They never really struggled for much. And why did I think that? Because I would hear people say that. I would watch movies and the token son would be dating this girl and the mother would pull him aside and say, like, she has issues. She has trauma. This is not going to go well. She's learned values that are different from yours, and that's not us. And I have patients that probably don't even really know what my past is or my family. And they think that I must have come from a really good family to be as successful as I am. So they feel very safe sharing with me that, gosh, their son or daughter is dating this person and they just are not good enough for them. And I just think, wow, that was me. But the beautiful part is that you are responsible and you own your past. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but there's a line that Rachel Hollis references a lot, and she learned it from someone else. And forgive me, I don't know who she learned it from. She says it a lot because she also grew up with nothing. And if you don't know Rachel Hollis, you should for sure listen to her podcast. She's the one who had the Start Today journal that I basically built my entire business off of and changed my entire life by living intentionally, living through gratitude. But anyway, she says, if you've ever been hungry, you'll never be full. And while I never was physically hungry, there were a lot of things that I wished I had, maybe even emotional basic needs that weren't met, and no anger behind that. Everyone does the best they can when they are in your lives. I really do believe that. Everyone really does the best they can. And I think that there's a lot of people who can't let go of that because there's pain, and the pain is because of our ego. And so if you can really learn to serve and love others and forgive in ways that maybe you were wronged, this really cherishes your value, because it's not our job to show others how they were wrong. It's really none of your business what other people say to you and how they treat you. Were more than the weakness and the fear of letting go of that anger towards someone who has wronged us. And if you really want a fulfilled life, it will never come from blaming someone else. That victim mindset. I think that we've all probably suffered from that a little bit. And they always say you don't like the things about yourself that maybe you were or that maybe you still are. But that one gets me. I'm going to be honest and admit that when people have a victim type of a mindset or really lack self-awareness, it bothers me. But that is a weakness in me. Thinking outside of the box, that's my ego speaking. I really started to think about this, and I was listening to something else that Dan Sullivan was talking about. And I was really just like, wow, this is all kind of coming together. And he was talking about the past. Your past does not equal your future. If you hang on to your past, you have no future. And actually, your past is your most valuable asset and is something to be celebrated. And you may honestly be like, whoa, lady, you lost me. You have no idea what my past looked like. It was full of pain. This world is horrible. Children should never be subject to any of these things. But just stick with me for a moment. It's your property. You own it. No one else has this. Literally, no one else has this. You could go buy a brand new Ferrari that's custom, but someone else could have it. They just didn't tell this other person buying this custom Ferrari that they also made it for the guy down the road or across the country. But your past is the only thing that no one else has. It's your property. It's very unique, and it's yours because you're unique. And by recognizing that you own your past, why would you not also own your future? Which lies claim to getting over a victim type of a mindset. Anyone's opinion of what your future looks like, let alone your past. Anyone who tells you get over things, that's not how it happened, whatever. Anyone who looks at any part of you and what your experiences are literally irrelevant. Their opinions do not matter. You get to call the shots on your life and you get to say what it looks like. And if you want to do that, you really get to call the shots and align the life that you want in your path because it's really coming from your past. You can truly only appreciate your future and where you go and what you accomplish if you have gratitude for your past, no matter what it looks like. Isn't that crazy? It's really hit me If you want to complain about how things were or how hard your life was or how you had to overcome so much, that is valid. That's your past. Those are your feelings. But if you sit in it and you wallow in it and you blame others, that's your ego, because your ego is wounded and it needs that, or you tell yourself it needs it. But if you have gratitude instead, you then can have a future that you appreciate and that is aligned with who you are meant to be. So from there, I really love the tool, the Wheel of Life from Tony Robbins. He actually uses this in his most expensive seminars. And if you've ever seen it, it's literally a circle, looks like a pie chart, and there's categories on the wheel. You can really make the categories whatever is important to you. I highly recommend you sit down and you kind of brainstorm what those categories are. Personal relationships, your health, your career, your financials. And by the way, career and financials can be totally separate and should be. Where you reside or where you live and who you live with, your significant other, how you're doing with your personal growth. What does your free time look like? You literally brainstorm like those 6, 7, 8, 9 things and you rate them. You literally rate them on a scale from 1 to 10. And after you do that, you can imagine in your mind, if you have a pie chart with all these little pieces of pie, and some of them are a 2 and some of them are maybe a 7, some of them are maybe a 10. Good for you. You should hopefully have something that you are killing it at. Then you will have a wheel that is probably not going to roll forward very well. Round wheels roll best. And so what do you do about that? Well, you own it. Your past painted that picture. Your past ate pieces out of that pie. And so how can you make it more fulfilled? How can you make that pie whole so that you can roll down the road and do what you need to do? Well, you're going to really assess it and you're going to write it down. What would it look like for each of those categories that you just wrote down to be a 9 or a 10? Even an 8. If that seems too daunting, just make 8 like your max right now, because sometimes life can really get you down and you can be like, I'm never going to be a 10 with my money. But even so, imagine it could be. What would it look like? Don't put any of the barriers in your mind of how you're not going to get to a 10. What would it look like? What would be a 10 for you? Because it's obviously super subjective. And then you literally just created goals. By writing down what a 10 means to you in those categories, you could literally write a list of goals. What you need to then do is don't start comparing your goals to someone else's. I always tell people, like, do not compare your beginning to someone else's middle. Don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10. They're yours. Because remember, your past is unique. Your future is also unique, which is beautiful. This really can be used as such a beautiful tool to increase, first of all, self-awareness, because I think that that's probably what a lot of people are lacking, for you to just reflect on your own life and your satisfaction of each of these categories, because you're the one who lives in your life. It's also really powerful for setting goals. I mean, think about all the people that just kind of go through life without much thought about how life is happening for you. It's really just happening to you. And so people don't set goals because they don't really believe that they're worthy of them. It balances your life. I mean, right now, my life is a little bit out of balance. And so I'm working on that. But how would you really work on it if you don't have this tool to really concretely look at where you're struggling and how you can fulfill some of those wheels? And then you can really be able to monitor your progress. So you should be revisiting this once or twice a year. I really need to revisit this monthly at this point, but maybe hopefully quarterly, just with the heavy impact I have and with leading a team and being responsible for a lot of people. And I have young children still, and I want to be present for that. And it's okay to go through seasons of being imbalanced. And again, there's going to be lots of noise. People are going to tell you, oh my gosh, you're missing out on this. That's their experience. They're always going to speak to you because, what did I say in the beginning? They believe they are the most qualified in life to help the people that they used to be. And so everyone's going to reflect on where they are, and they're going to give you their best pieces of advice based on where they are. But ultimately, you have your past, you have your future, you just written down what you want it to look like. So monitor your progress as such and see where you need to evolve. And then personal growth and development are going to really start to pull forward. You're going to be thirstier for more self-awareness. You're going to be thirstier to be more balanced. You're going to be so much more aware of when you're not and what categories are off. And The other beautiful thing is it really enhances relationships, and you're going to be really particular about who you're spending your time with. You're spending hopefully more time with yourself and also others. And so you can really make connections and relationships that are important to you stronger. And you can also have such a better idea of who you're allowing into your life and what boundaries you're setting for what is the bar of people that you're going to be allowing in, because we talk a lot about noise, like identities that we're given, what people are telling us. Is that really serving you? Like, get real granular with who you're spending your time with. And then long-term success, like, what does that look like? You probably don't know everything that's going to happen to you in your life unless you're just like really a spiritual guider and you've been given amazing gifts of spirit. But I think that you do get much more intuitive about what your life is going to look like because you're living so intentionally. Say what you mean, do what you say, appreciate your past, and go kill it in the future. You deserve it, you're worth it, and you have people that aren't quite there yet to help. Go make an impact. I am going to put a link to this little wheel of life, like a little PDF in my show notes, if I can figure out how to do that. And I really highly encourage you to, if you don't go to that, just Google Tony Robbins Wheel of Life and you can find a visual. And I really would encourage you, if you haven't started journaling, I talk about that a lot, start with the Wheel of Life, because I really think that people that struggle to know, where do I start? I just try to give them snippets of that. So that was something that came up for me recently. I'm here to enrich your lives along with making, our forehead smoother with some Botox and some good skincare. But why does our business thrive amongst such probably a small market share? But I think aesthetics, we have big market shares. But why do we thrive? Because we focus on patient experience. And if we're not pouring into ourselves and working on our own personal growth and development as people, but also in the aesthetics community, and staying relevant and keeping ego out of it and really analyzing this data and bringing the best to our patients, then we're going to fail. So our patients reap the benefits of this personal development too, because we want you to look the age you feel, but we also want you to feel really good on the inside about who you are. We like to take these wrinkles away and give you this outer glow so that you don't have to focus on that part and stare in the mirror and feel like, gosh, that is a huge focus of mine. Let's look good and then turn that focus inside and go do the Wheel of Life exercise and really start to put some goals into place and practice self-awareness and how we can be contributing members of society with massive impact in this world. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Check out those show notes. If you like what we're saying, head to all of our platforms, our Instagram page, beautyculture.medspa. If you are in the aesthetics industry and you want to know more about what we do technically and medically, we have a Patreon page, which we will link below. That's a paid membership where I talk about techniques, trade secrets, business development ideas. There's different tiers of membership as well. Just follow along. And if you like this podcast, rate the show, share it with a friend if this resonates with someone, share it on your stories and Instagram or social media platforms, because I think that the more that we can hone in on this idea, it's just really rang true for me a lot lately and people that I love and myself. I think that we'll have a lot more people living intentionally. Take care, guys. Until next time. Congratulations, you have done it. You've reached the end of an episode on the Curated Beauty podcast and have enriched a part of your self-care by discovering something new. I hope this time together added a little perspective to your day and will ultimately boost your confidence and give you the strength to do all the hard things. As we walk through this journey together, follow our Curated Beauty podcast. And if this resonated with you, share it with a friend, save the episode, and also follow our social media platforms in the show notes. We love to engage with our listeners on all levels.